Hello and welcome my friends. My name is Raptor and joining me today for this video is my good friend Michiel.
Hey everyone!
In this video we'll give you a basic rundown of all the strike missions. Strike missions are 1 to 10 player squad based PvE instances serving as a bridge between open world and raids in their difficulty. On some strike missions, players can join a public instance where they get matched up with random teammates. As of May 26, 2020, there are 7 strike missions available, not including the festive strikes which can only be accessed during their respective festival.
Every strike mission will award you with profit shards that can be used to buy various items such as ascended equipment or exchange for crystals to open the emissary chest. There is also a daily strike mission achievement that gives you a bonus reward chest upon completion. There is only one prerequisite needed, which is having the Icebrood Saga storyline unlocked. However, it is really vital for players joining to have a good setup, preferably a raid meta build found on such sites as snowcrows.com, and have a good grasp of your class and rotation, as some bosses can be really hard to overcome without a functioning squad composition.
Yes, that is true. Having a variety of classes to switch to can also be immensely helpful while setting up the squad. Also, a well-functioning squad can take down the strike bosses within a short period, resulting in extra rewards, and who doesn't want that? So, let's delve into this adventure and run some strike missions. Once the squad is set up and ready to go, we can start our first strike mission. To do so, a player, usually the commander, must enter the Azura Gate located next to the Eye of the North waypoint. We will start with an easy strike mission called Shiver Peaks Pass.
To get the ball rolling, we must talk to the Blood Legion captain. This is like a ready check for the squad. To get to the boss, we must get through this boulder spawning tunnel and then complete a short jumping puzzle. Do not worry though, it is enough for just one player to overcome that, because a waypoint spawns for everyone as soon as the boss is reached.
Once everyone gets on the final platform where the giant Icebrood construct spawns, the commander will issue a ready check. Please refrain from attacking bosses in general before the ready check is complete. This boss only uses a small array of attacks. The first one is a slam attack, which creates a shockwave that can be dodged, jumped, blocked, or phased through. His second attack is almost not worth mentioning since he spawns several frozen boulders that hardly inflict any damage. Occasionally, the Icebrood construct will perform a 180 degrees arm wave attack followed by a whirlwind that will cause the players to swirl around it. As with most raid-like bosses, the Icebrood construct has a pulsing buff called Frostbite Aura that damages those within range every 3 seconds.
At 50% health, the boss will lose one arm and become invulnerable for a few seconds. After that, he becomes a bit more aggressive. A new attack called Ice Shatter will create ice platforms that shoot multiple ice projectiles. The initial slam attack will create a large pool of ice that inflicts chill. None of the boss's attacks are lethal and as such can be mitigated with group healing. Therefore it is wise to stack together on the commander and just leave it down.
Nice and easy. On to the next strike mission.
Alright, now we set out to challenge Freynier of Jormag. Another rather simple boss, and this time without a running intro. Check in with the Raven Shaman to begin the mission.
In the meantime, the squad can attack the pylon to stack up on essence for bonus magic find, rewards, 30% damage reduction, and periodically obtain a powerful special action skill used to CC. However, this is only possible if you have unlocked your respective essence masteries.
Usually, one of his first attacks is the Torrent of Ice, where ice blocks rain down indicated by large orange circles. Try to avoid standing in them as they will encase you in ice until you break free. Freynier will often transform and fly away. After a short period of time, he will fly back to the center, hover over it for a couple of seconds, and then slams the ground, creating a shockwave that knocks enemies down. This ice quake can be dodged, jumped, blocked, or phased through. Occasionally he starts tracking a target for a couple of seconds, indicating by an orange arrow on the ground before firing his frozen missile, dealing damage and launching foes backwards if hit. His main attacks are dagger strikes that deal a bit of damage and apply vulnerability.
At about 75% health, Freyr will vanish and our previously encountered buddy, the Iceberg Construct, appears. Most of his mechanics are the same as before, except now he periodically unlocks his Defiance bar that can be broken to inflict more damage but has no direct punishment for not depleting it. Using the special action key as a primary CC skill is advisable. Once down to roughly 70% health, the Construct will lose an arm and turns invulnerable for a couple of seconds. After that, it becomes more aggressive and summons bound ice elementals that turn into veteran ice elementals if not killed quickly. However, usually players don't focus on killing those spawns anyways.
When the Icebrute Construct is killed, Freyr appears with 25% health and the exact same mechanics as before. The general strategy used for this strike mission is to stack on the commander in the middle and just cleave everything down, periodically evading some orange AoE circles. Pulling adds towards the center can help to avoid receiving unnecessary damage.
Okay, so I think we are warmed up enough to take on two bosses this time. The two Coden, Voice and Claw of the Fallen. As usual, we talk to the NPC to start and while waiting, attack the pylon for essence. The Voice of the Fallen applies range pressure including a barrage of red immobilization traps, while the Claw of the Fallen focuses on melee attacks. Therefore, it is a viable strategy to focus on Voice at start to lure Claw in closer and damage both at the same time. At some point, both bosses will teleport to a set location, forcing the squad to move to the spawn site. Be sure to always move with the commander and focus on the marked target.
After the second teleport, or the Voice reaches around 20% health, the squad should switch targets and start focusing Claw. Depending on how much DPS the group inflicts and the judgment call of the commander, the focus will either stay on Claw or switch. At a certain time, both bosses will teleport to the middle and attack in unison, also unlocking their Defiance bar. Breaking that bar will separate them and halt their attacks for a decent amount of time. Upon killing the first boss, the second one will teleport to the middle of the platform and become enraged, dealing massive damage. This basically explains the reason for this target switching strategy, because you want to kill both targets within a couple of seconds of each other.
Wow, good job! Let's keep this up!
Now we get to the good stuff. Challenging the Whisper of Jormag, one of the hardest strike bosses to date. But I'm sure that once you've picked up on the mechanics of this mission, it's going to be a piece of cake. As per usual, interact with the NPC and fill up on your essence stack. Also, using nourishment and utility items is encouraged for this strike mission. Once the squad is ready, the commander can draw out the boss by interacting with the crystal in the middle of the platform.
The first attack thrusts the whole squad into the air and crystal spikes will appear shortly after on the spot where everyone was launched off. Engage your gliders and drift slightly away to avoid taking damage. This attack occurs periodically throughout the fight. Often, the Whisper will spawn 4 tornadoes that will move counterclockwise around him. Do not concern yourself with those as they inflict neglectable damage. A more serious attack, however, is the Icicle Strike that spawns an orange AoE circle around every squad member. After about 4 seconds, the orange AoE collapses, dealing moderate damage if not dodged. However, inflicts significant damage if a player is hit by overlapping circles. Therefore, spreading out during this attack is essential. From time to time, a collapsing green circle will appear under a player. The other squad members should try to stack on that to share and reduce the damage taken when it disappears.
The first phase ends when the boss reaches 75% health, upon which every player will get teleported to their own instance and must vanquish a weak doppelganger of themselves. Doing so will start the second phase of the fight, which adds 2 new and deadly mechanics. Periodically, 3 players will be randomly selected and get a small timer above their heads. Roughly 2 to 3 seconds later, a purple chain will materialize, linking them to the boss. Anyone passing through these chains will take severe damage, and therefore it is key for players linked to the chains to avoid moving sideways. Usually the chain phase is directly accompanied by the launch attack, giving the chain players a chance to reposition themselves by gliding. Melee fighters should also be aware to not stand inside the boss's hitbox, as they might take damage from all three chains simultaneously, almost always leading to an instant death. Positioning yourself on the outer red rim of the boss is the sweet spot for close combat. It is important to know that transformation skills such as Celestial Avatar on Druids or Photon Forge on Hollowsmith prevent these players from seeing the small chain timers. Occasionally the boss will unlock its Defiance bar, inflicting moderate pulsing damage to everyone. Breaking that break bar by mainly using a special action key is immensely important, even more so than resurrecting down players.
At 25% health, another doppelganger engagement starts, leading to the final phase of the strike mission. In addition to the previous mechanics, the boss will attack in an arc covering half the platform, dealing slight damage. However, the second you attack in this phase should be taken more seriously, as the Whisper will start spawning slow-moving blue orbs that move outwards to the edge of the platform. Getting hit by those orbs will cause an AoE explosion that does a considerable amount of damage. Using minions such as a Flesh Worm to tank those orbs is a common strategy. If doing so, it is more important than ever for melee players to watch where they are standing due to the high amount of AoE orb explosions. On the last phase, it is sometimes advisable to solo the green circles, as it can be hard to coordinate the stacking and may result to more down players if failing to do so.
Time to take care of the Bone Skinner in this next strike mission. After the ready check and pylon annihilation, we step into this haunting arena surrounded by 6 torches. Over time, the Bone Skinner will extinguish them one by one with his Death Wind cone attack, also dealing a great amount of damage to players struck by it and stuns them for quite some time. The deadliest attack, however, is the Grasp, indicated by the Bone Skinner raising its right arm and then spawning a small orange AoE beneath each player's feet. After about 2 seconds, the circles collapse, revealing dark claws that inflict massive damage to everyone getting struck by it. Needless to say, stacking tightly on the commander and moving to the left on their Q is the most important action to remember throughout the entire fight. Usually, this is what most newcomers die from and requires some getting used to. The boss has 2 auras, an unnatural aura that damages foes in the entire arena and cannot be avoided. The second one is a tormenting aura that starts out smaller as a blackish green AoE underneath it and increases in size the more torches get extinguished. Therefore, keeping the torches lit can be a sound strategy in this strike mission.
At certain health intervals, the Bone Skinner disappears, pulling all players to the center, and returns a short while after, slamming the ground, causing a great deal of damage. The boss's return is indicated by an expanding orange circle. Evading this attack just before the AoE hits the outer rim of the arena is important to evade the damage. Occasionally, the boss will stand up on its hind legs, raising its arms and revealing a Defiance bar. Breaking that bar awards you with almost 5 seconds of uninterrupted resurrecting or DPSing. However, there is no penalty for not doing so and shouldn't be a priority. The Bone Skinner periodically slams its arms down, which sends a wave of damage from the center towards the edge of the arena. This attack, as most of the other attacks, can be evaded. Wisps spawn during the battle, extinguishing torches and attacking the squad, using mainly projectiles that can be blocked or reflected. Having some pull can also come in handy to deal with them. Sometimes the Bone Skinner roars, then rampages in a certain direction, and after a short duration jumps back towards the middle. Avoid getting run over and dodge the leap attack.
The most common strategy used here, as you can see, is to ignore the torches and use extra healers to oppose the damage loss through the tormenting aura, while also packed closely on the commander and move as one in a clockwise manner around the Bone Skinner.
Now to the most recent addition to the Strikes mission comes Cold War. Note that this mission is somewhat of a spoiler for the storyline No Quarter, so be wary. Same as all the previous missions, this one can also be entered through the Azura Gate in the Eye of the North. As it is also per usual, an NPC provides a ready check and the pylon supply the essence. New to the strike mission, however, is the United Legion's Way Station, which can be used to acquire a special action skill such as Electro-Magical Pulse, an AoE that stuns up to 10 targets, or Remote Charge that launches targets as well as dealing a fair amount of damage. The Way Station is available before engaging the enemies and requires players to have their respective mastery unlocked. It costs 10 war supplies to purchase one of the special action skills. The first part of the Cold War strike mission is an 8-minute defense assignment. Multiple waves of enemies will attack the squad, starting with fewer foes and increasing with each successive assault. A wave ends when all the enemies are killed, including a mini-boss. Stacking loosely in the middle while pulling in the adversaries is a viable strategy in this phase. Some foes drop Sharzukas that can be picked up by players and used to destroy the minion bombers hovering above, dealing AoE damage. Depending on the number of opponents and the minion bombers destroyed within the given time limit, the squad can get up to 7 extra chests to loot upon successfully completing the mission. Squad wipes during this phase of the encounter does not restart the mission, and players can respawn to continue engaging the enemy.
Once the timer runs out, all remaining foes become invulnerable and start leaving the area. Verinia Stormsounder, also known as the Minister of Morale, appears and is the final boss in this mission. She has so many attacks it's almost not worth mentioning most of them. Suffice it to say, orange AoEs and flame walls should be avoided, while green circles should be stacked on. Breaking the Defiance bar when it occasionally appears apparently prevents some of the boss's mechanics from occurring, but the jury is still out on that one. The boss also has some skills seen in her effects bar that can have a huge impact on the fighting strategy and should be inspected and called out as soon as possible. These effects seem to change weekly.
Well, looks like we showed her the cold shoulder.
Okay, anyways. Ending this strike mission run with the easiest but also the longest one, Forging Steel. This mission is part of the Icebrood Saga story Visions of the Past, Steel and Fire, so spoilers ahead. As opposed to the other strike missions, this one must be accessed via the scrying pool on the other side in the Eye of the North. A 10-minute timer will run down indicating the start of the strike mission. This timer can be shortened by completing events in the vicinity. There are many events throughout the whole adventure that can help progress the mission, but most of them are not necessary. Once the mission starts, the tank will start moving through the map. The squad must escort it, killing foes on the way while protecting and healing the tank with scrap metal to keep it moving. The tank, however, cannot be destroyed. Players can board the tank, gaining useful damage and crowd control skills, however using up ammunition while doing so. Thankfully, many enemies drop munition crates to restock. Occasionally, portals appear spawning enemies that block the way. Destroy those as soon as possible to carry on.
At one point, the players will be asked to break down a door. The player must destroy 2 warding seals on the gate using the tank and then break the Defiance bar with the Harpoon skill. After a while, another event will appear asking you to lower a bridge so that the tank can pass through. There are 3 circular runes that can be seen on the minimap that players have to stand on to complete this event, proceeding to the final boss. The ancient Forgeman is somewhat resistant to damage due to hardened shell. Flame portals keep appearing, spawning Stone Summit dwarves if not destroyed in time. Focusing on those portals is important during the final encounter to avoid being overrun and to stock up on ammunition. Standing on the blast wall rune symbol on the ground when they light up will raise blast walls to defend the tank and the players behind it. Periodically, a 15-second timer appears, after which the boss's Defiance bar unlocks. Players should board the tank beforehand and be ready to break the bar using the Harpoon skill. Once the bar is broken, the boss will become susceptible to damage. This might take a couple of attempts to finally kill the Forgeman. Alright, so I think everyone got the hang of this. Thanks a lot, Michiel, for helping me with the detailed rundown. And I'm sure we will have more people joining us in future.
Yeah, I hope so as well.